Good, you're back. I'm Neon. How many people can you photobomb? To begin with, I'll define a photobomb as any photographic interruption which is caused, either intentionally or unintentionally, by an outside entity which was not included in the plans of the photographer. Naturally, the first thing that may materialize out of your brain is the classic selfie-bomb, a photo intended to capture you and perhaps a small group of others, but which inevitably gets interrupted by the one random crowdgoer that everybody just knew was going to interrupt it. But that's a bit small potatoes, or for my more educated and high society audience, minuscule Murphies. One could definitely do better with an everybody pinch in, third person looking in, I'm not doing this again, these aren't even my friends, I wonder when the food begins type of picture. These are generally framed to allow for more people, and would therefore offer more space for the cantankerous camera criminal to conduct this chicanerous cliche. But the more people contained in the photo, the wider the shot needs to be, and thus it gets increasingly more difficult for a wayward would-be image intruder to interrupt. Let's explore another avenue. Video. If you could somehow worm your way into a movie and be spotted in the background doing the same type of stupid childish thing that photobombers typically do, you would be seen by millions. But some problems with this method are, 1, it probably doesn't even count because it's a movie, not a photo. 2, there's no chance they wouldn't edit it out in post. 3, you're contending with some of the same framing issues from the last example. And 4, it was basically impossible to sneak onto a serious film set. I mean, would be. But if you're looking to be the B-29 super fortress of photobombing, there may yet be another option open to you. What if there was a way to intrude on a photo before it was even taken? What if you could get inside the camera itself and place photobombs like booby traps, just waiting to be sprung by an unsuspecting photographer? The year is 1945. It's late April, and the Eastman Kodak company has been manufacturing cameras and relevant film supplies for over 50 years. The photography business has been good, despite the tragedies of World War II, or perhaps even because of them.
But the Germans are on the run now that Hitler was finally taken down, and the Japanese can't keep this up forever.
It'll be a great day when this infernal war is over, thought the executives at Eastman Kodak. But they couldn't help but wonder how the post-war market would be. And to top it off, they'd been getting complaints from dissatisfied customers. Something about blotchy film rolls? Whatever, they thought. Let Webb and his quality control boys take care of it. Thankfully, that's just what physicist Julian Webb and his aforementioned boys were doing. For the past week or so, the Kodak company had been receiving complaints about the quality of their film. It was very apparent very quickly that this was not a one-off issue, nor was it a fraudulent claim to get some free product or discounted deliveries. On inspection, Webb and his team noticed that a large quantity of film rolls were unusable, pockmarked with black spots and fogging. Julian Webb put his team of experts, his quality control abilities, and his training in physics to work. They started by testing the product in the factories. Faulty materials? Ruled out. Light leaks? Ruled out. Improperly regulated temperatures? Ruled out. In fact, they were unable to find any flaws at all with the process, and nothing that could be interfering with the film pre-shipment. That meant that some sort of tampering must be going on during or post-delivery. But though a substantial and perpetual amount of film rolls were being affected, it wasn't all of them, and they could find no differences in shipping methods between the usable ones and the damaged ones. This avenue too seemed like a dead end. Until what should have been obvious at first suddenly became clear. Not the final answer, but the first substantial clue that they had to go on thus far. All of the damaged film rolls were found in the same region, Idaho and neighboring states. This was vague, yes, but it was something to go on. It was now August of 1945, and the problem had been going on for over a month. A fairly short time frame, but it only takes 1 second to decide you don't want the shoddy business of Eastman Kodak. Then you add in the factor that much of the film was being used by hospitals and x-rays, and faulty film could mean faulty diagnosis. This wasn't just a threat to casual family photos and senior prom shoots. This could potentially be life and death, followed by certain lawsuits, along with any guilt one might feel about preloading x-ray scans with unknown diseases. But finally, here was a clue. After a few tests and a couple different theories, Julian's quality control team decided to try different packing materials as a matter of routine. Not expecting much, just doing their due diligence, trying every angle. But all of a sudden, the damage to the film rolls ceased. It was incumbent on Webb to pursue further testing. At that time, it was common to use a sort of cardboard made from corn husks as packaging, which could be gotten cheap in corn-heavy states like Idaho. And Webb shucked those packing materials for all he was worth, until finally, a hit. In his examination, Webb discovered the presence of cerium-141 in the packaging, a radioactive isotope tied to nuclear fission. It was now October 1945.
Japan had surrendered and the war was over.
The US had finished it off with 2 devastating bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Webb knew that nuclear testing had been done in the US. It had been declassified in late September. But the Trinity test site was over 1,000 miles away in south-central New Mexico, and the corn husks in question were from maize grown in Idaho. The implications of this were not lost on Julian Webb, and he quickly took his findings to the heads of the company. Upon receiving this information, Eastman Kodak immediately contacted the government to inform them that they had learned the truth, the dirty secret of nuclear testing, that the fallout was not only spreading far and wide, but causing measurable damage to livestock, crops, and human life, not just in Idaho, but possibly even as far as the East Coast. For obvious reasons, the government was desperate to keep this a secret, so they brokered a deal with the Eastman Kodak company. You will keep our secret, and we will not only provide you with future test plans and weather data, but also a guaranteed contract for radiation monitoring until such a day as the secret can be revealed. Kodak was faced with a dilemma: tell the truth, leak the secret and be the hero, or take the money and run, accept the government's offer of privileged information and guaranteed revenue. Kodak chose the latter, and the public was left in the dark for the next 35 years. The documents were declassified in 1980, and no one has ever profited from misinformation since. So how do you photobomb millions of people at once? Learn a terrible secret and use it to leverage the government for money. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more, ring the notification bell, and comment what you want to learn about next. I'm Neom, and I'll see you next time.